Your doctor told you to take your vitamins. Your family insisted. The commercials made it look like the safest thing in the world. A small capsule, a glass of water, a healthy habit. So you took them. Every morning, without question, without hesitation. Because who would ever think that something sold right next to the orange juice could quietly become one of the most serious threats to your health after 60? But here is what almost nobody is telling seniors today, and what the supplement industry has very little interest in you knowing. Certain vitamins, the ones millions of older Americans take every single day with absolute confidence, have a hidden side that researchers have been tracking for years. A side that does not show up on the label, a side that does not come with a warning from the pharmacist, and a side that for people over 60 carries consequences that are not minor inconveniences. They are life-altering, stroke-level risks, hiding inside bottles that look completely innocent, sitting on your kitchen counter. What you are about to hear is not meant to frighten you away from nutrition. It is meant to give you the information you deserve, the information that could quite literally protect your brain, your blood vessels, and your life. For decades, the message around vitamins has been almost universally positive. Take more, cover your bases, fill the gaps your diet leaves behind. And for many people, that advice is reasonable and well-intentioned. But somewhere along the way, the conversation stopped evolving. The research kept moving forward, quietly and methodically, while the public messaging stayed frozen in time, still pointing seniors toward the supplement aisle, without ever stopping to explain that the biology of aging changes everything about how the body processes these compounds. What works at 35 does not work the same way at 65. The kidneys slow down, the liver processes differently. Blood vessels that were once elastic and forgiving become thinner, stiffer, and far more vulnerable to the kinds of chemical imbalances that excess supplementation can create. Researchers at institutions from Harvard to the Cleveland Clinic have been piecing together a picture that the mainstream health conversation has been slow to acknowledge, that for older adults specifically, certain vitamins in supplemental form, taken at doses that feel completely normal and responsible, can interact with the aging cardiovascular system in ways that elevate stroke risk in measurable, documented, and deeply serious ways. This is not fringe science. This is peer-reviewed, published, and replicated. And yet most seniors have never heard a word of it. The first vitamin that demands your attention is one you almost certainly believe is protecting you. VitaminE built its reputation on antioxidant power, and for years it was considered a cardiovascular hero. But large-scale studies, including the landmark HOPE trial that followed nearly 10,000 participants, found something that upended that reputation entirely. High-dose vitamin E supplementation, the kind found in standard over-the-counter capsules, was associated with an increased risk of hemorrhagic stroke, the type caused not by a clot, but by bleeding in the brain. The mechanism is tied to vitamin E's blood-thinning properties. In an aging brain where vessel walls are already more fragile, that thinning effect is not protective, it is destabilizing. And if you are also taking aspirin, a common blood pressure medication, or a prescribed anticoagulant, the compounding effect on your blood's clotting ability becomes something your doctor needs to know about immediately. Then there's the vitamin B family, and this is where the story becomes genuinely complicated, because B vitamins carry such a wholesome reputation that questioning them feels almost counterintuitive. But the research on high-dose B6 supplementation tells a story that seniors cannot afford to ignore. Vitamin B6, taken in doses commonly found in energy supplements and senior-targeted multivitamins, builds up in the body over time. Unlike water-soluble vitamins that pass through quickly in youth, the aging kidney is less efficient at clearing excess B6, allowing it to accumulate to levels that begin affecting the nervous system and, critically, the cardiovascular system. studies have linked chronically elevated B6 levels to increased homocysteine irregularities and vascular inflammation, two factors that cardiologists recognize as significant contributors to stroke risk in older adults. Folic acid deserves its own careful examination, particularly for seniors who are not deficient but who take it anyway out of general health habit. When folic acid is consumed in synthetic supplemental form rather than obtained from food, it requires conversion by an enzyme called MTHFR to become usable by the body. A significant portion of the population, and research suggests this percentage may be higher in older adults, carries a genetic variation that makes this conversion inefficient. The result is unmetabolized folic acid circulating in the bloodstream. Emerging research has connected elevated unmetabolized folic acid with immune dysregulation and, in some studies, with increased cardiovascular risk markers. The concern is not theoretical. It is biochemical, measurable, and particularly relevant after 60, when the body's compensatory systems are already working harder just to maintain baseline function. Vitamin D is perhaps the most universally recommended supplement in senior health, and its benefits, in proper doses, are real and well documented. But the dose is everything, and this is where the danger lives. Vitamin D toxicity, known as hypervitaminosis D, is not rare in older adults who take high-dose supplements without regular blood monitoring. Excessive vitamin D drives calcium absorption into dangerous territory, a condition called hypercalcemia, which causes calcium to deposit in arteries and soft tissues. Calcified arteries are rigid arteries. Rigid arteries cannot accommodate normal fluctuations in blood pressure. And arteries that cannot flex under pressure are arteries that are primed for rupture, clot formation, and stroke. The irony is almost cruel. The vitamin most aggressively marketed to protect senior bone and heart health, when taken in excess, creates the precise arterial conditions that elevate stroke risk most dramatically. Vitamin K exists in two primary forms: K1, found abundantly in leafy greens, and K2, found in fermented foods, and now widely available as a supplement. Both play critical roles in blood coagulation, and for most people, they are beneficial. But for the millions of seniors taking warfarin or other anticoagulant medications to manage atrial fibrillation, deep vein thrombosis, or prior clotting events, vitamin K supplementation, even at modest doses, can dramatically interfere with medication effectiveness. Warfarin works specifically by blocking vitamin K's role in clotting factor synthesis. Adding K2 supplements without physician oversight can push clotting ability in either direction unpredictably, and either extreme, blood too thin or blood too thick, carries serious stroke implications. This is not a theoretical drug-nutrient interaction. It is one of the most well-established and dangerous ones in senior pharmacology. Niacin, also known as vitamin B3, was once prescribed widely to raise HDL cholesterol, and it remains a popular supplement for cardiovascular health in the senior community. But a series of major clinical trials, most notably the AIM-HIGH and HPS-2 THRIVE studies, found that high-dose niacin not only failed to reduce cardiovascular events, but was associated with increased rates of ischemic stroke in some subgroups. The mechanism involves niacin's effect on blood glucose regulation, blood pressure fluctuation, and what researchers call atrial fibrillation promotion at high doses. For a senior population already managing multiple cardiovascular risk factors, adding high-dose niacin to that picture is a compounding risk that most supplement labels will never warn you about. Vitamin A, in its preformed state, retinol found in animal-derived supplements and many multivitamins, accumulates in the liver over time. Unlike beta-carotene from plants, which the body converts to vitamin A only as needed, supplemental retinol has no such regulatory mechanism. In older adults with reduced liver processing efficiency, retinol toxicity develops more readily than most physicians warn patients about. Chronically elevated vitamin A levels have been associated with increased intracranial pressure and, in documented case studies, with hemorrhagic stroke risk. The connection is not widely publicized, but it is present in the medical literature, and it is one more reason why the default assumption that more supplementation equals more protection deserves serious reconsideration. Calcium supplements round out this picture in a way that surprises almost everyone who hears it, because calcium's association with bone health is so firmly established that its cardiovascular implications rarely surface in mainstream conversations. But a landmark meta-analysis published in the British Medical Journal examined data from nearly 12,000 participants and found that calcium supplementation without adequate accompanying magnesium and vitamin K2 to direct calcium properly was associated with a 30% increased risk of heart attack and contributed to arterial calcification patterns consistent with elevated stroke risk. Calcium from food is released slowly, with cofactors present, and the body directs it appropriately. Calcium from supplements arrives as a sudden bolus, and in aging arteries without proper cofactor support, it deposits where it should not. What all of these vitamins share is not malice and not bad science at their foundation. What they share is a gap between the research being done in controlled settings with monitored populations and the reality of millions of seniors self-supplementing based on labels, advertisements, and advice that was never designed with the complexity of aging physiology in mind. This is the moment that changes the entire conversation. Because the danger in all of this is not that vitamins are villains. The danger is invisibility. Stroke does not announce itself in advance. It does not give you a warning label the way a medication does. It arrives suddenly, catastrophically, and often permanently. And when a senior who has been diligently doing everything right, taking their vitamins, following their routine, believing they were protecting themselves, suffers a stroke, nobody looks at the supplement shelf. Nobody runs the blood panels that would have shown elevated B6 or toxic vitamin D levels or disrupted clotting dynamics from an unmonitored K2 supplement. The supplements are not logged in most hospital intake forms. They are not considered in many standard stroke investigations. They exist in a blind spot that costs people their independence, their speech, their mobility, and sometimes their lives. And the most painful part of all of it is that the risk was preventable. The information existed. The blood tests that could have caught it cost less than most monthly supplement budgets. But nobody connected the dots. Not the cardiologist, not the pharmacist, not the label, and not the well-meaning family member who bought the bottle as a gift. You now know something that most people sitting in their doctor's waiting rooms do not know. You understand that the biology of aging changes the rules around supplementation in ways that the supplement industry does not widely broadcast, and that the medical system rarely has time to explain in a 15-minute appointment. That knowledge is not a reason to panic, and it is not a reason to throw everything in the trash tomorrow morning. It is a reason to act with the kind of informed intention that your health at this stage of life deserves. The first step is a conversation, a real, complete, unhurried conversation with your physician or a clinical pharmacist about every supplement you are currently taking, the dose, the form, and how it interacts with your medications and your specific blood chemistry. Ask for the panels that check your vitamin D level, your B6, your calcium, your homocysteine. These numbers exist. They are measurable. And knowing them puts the power back where it belongs, with you. Your vitamins should be working for your future, not quietly undermining it.